Right now, we start this hour with this question. Can the President of the United States take control of independent federal agencies like the Federal Trade Commission? That is what justices on the high court are thinking about today. So the issue is before the court that the president's firing of former Federal Trade Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter needed to come into question. So Slaughter argues that Congress designed the Federal Trade Commission to be bipartisan in investigating corporate mergers and consumer fraud. Those arguments in court already heating up this morning. Listen in.
How about employees?
Again, we haven't challenged the restrictions on.
I know you haven't challenged it. It's really, the question is, where does this lead? What does it take you to, given what your primary rationale is? Employees are wielding executive power all over the place, and yet we've had civil service laws that give them substantial protection from removal for over a century. How about those?
Well, we do not challenge.
I know what you don't challenge. You're missing the point.
Well, then let me point the court to, if I could, to 7511B, of the civil service laws, the CSRA that we cite in our brief. That is a series of exceptions in it that provides no judicial relief at all to classes of employees, they're called. Now, some of those employees are clearly officers, some aren't, but for example, presidentially appointed officers, Senate-confirmed officials, those who exercise substantial policymaking or have confidential responsibilities, and members of the CIA, for employees of the CIA and the Foreign Service. So there's already been the political branches have in many ways already addressed issues with employees.
All right, so just a taste of some of those discussions. Live now to CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. Jessica, good to be with you today. Okay, so break down what we just heard there and then sort of give us a walkthrough of some of the arguments for and against here.
So what we just heard is one of the better exchanges that demonstrates what the federal government is arguing and what the other side is here. So the federal government, the Trump administration, is arguing that when it comes to executive agencies like the FTC, like the NLRB, all these alphabet agencies that actually have a lot of power in the federal government, that the president should be able to fire the heads of those agencies at will, that he should not be limited and have to give a reason, that Congress basically can't say you can only remove that person for cause. Why? Because the Trump administration is arguing that when it comes to the executive branch, that the chief executive, the president, has the ultimate power to say, I don't want you here anymore, and therefore I am firing you. On the other side, what we're hearing a lot of is a lot of details, but basically boils down to actually Congress can create that protection, the idea that some of these agencies should be independent from the whims of a president. And again, this is any president, and that having for-cause protection for the heads of these agencies is something that is within Congress's power. So Reed, to wrap up, it is this big separation of powers question. Who gets the power, the executive or Congress? Okay, so everything is connected in government. What's at stake here? If President Trump's team sees a win here, how will that affect things in a larger sense? So it depends on who you're listening to a little bit, but what's at stake really is the president's ability to look at the heads of any of these executive agencies with the caveat of maybe not the Fed, maybe not the Federal Reserve, and say, you're not doing what I want you to do, and therefore here's the door. I'm firing you. And that obviously has big implications for how all of these executive agencies can function, whether or not they think that they can do things that the president doesn't agree with, whether or not they think that would put them in the crosshairs to the extent that the heads of these agencies could be fired. And it's really about how much these agencies have to essentially comply with the will of the president, or whether or not they exercise some independence. And there's a lot of these agencies. Again, the National Labor Relations Board, we're talking about the Fair Trade Commission here. There's a lot of other ones. And then, Reed, the last thing is what you hear a lot of the justices mention just over the last hour is, and where's the limiting principle? How far does the president's power go for other agencies or other courts, like the tax court, for instance? So they're struggling with a lot here this morning.
Okay, well, Jessica Levinson, I'm glad you're listening in on it because you're able to pop in and decipher it all for us. Good to talk to you, friend, on a Monday. Have a great week and a great day ahead.